Ever feel like you're stuck, like you've got all this potential just waiting to, I don't know, break free?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of hitting a plateau,
Mm.
like you're capable of more, but not sure how to unlock it. We've all been there.
Yeah, and it's frustrating, right? Like, how do we bridge that gap?
Well, that's what we're diving into today, unlocking that potential. And the thing is, we often think we need some massive overhaul, some huge, life change.
Yeah, a complete 180.
Exactly. But sometimes it's the small shifts, the subtle tweaks to our habits and beliefs that make all the difference.
I like that. Small changes, big impact. And speaking of small changes, our source today gives us 5 very specific tips to make those shifts. And the first one is kind of surprising.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's about how we view challenges, which is something, to be honest, I sometimes struggle with.
Well, get ready to embrace them. Because this first tip is all about reframing obstacles as opportunities for growth.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's a core principle of what's called a growth mindset, this belief that our abilities aren't fixed, that we can actually develop them through, effort and hard work.
So instead of seeing a challenge and going, nope, not today, we should be thinking, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to, level up?
Exactly. It actually reminds me of this really interesting concept called the progress principle.
Okay, I've never heard of that. What is that?
So it suggests that we actually derive more happiness from the journey, from the actual process of making progress, than we do from simply achieving the end goal.
Wait, so you're telling me the struggle, the actual effort, that's where the satisfaction comes from?
In a lot of ways, yes. It's about finding that joy in the process of pushing ourselves, of expanding our capabilities.
All right, I'm starting to feel inspired. But what about those moments when, despite our best efforts, we hit a wall and maybe the feedback we get isn't exactly positive? Criticism, something I'm honestly not great at handling.
Oh, I hear you. Criticism is tough for everyone. No one actually enjoys hearing negative feedback, right?
Right.
But there's this powerful technique, something called cognitive reappraisal, where we consciously choose to reinterpret a situation.
So we're changing our emotional response.
Yes, exactly. Instead of internalizing the criticism, making it personal, you can train your brain to see it as valuable information, something to help you improve.
So it's about separating our work from our sense of self. Like, this feedback isn't about me as a person, it's about this particular project or task.
Exactly. Easier said than done? Absolutely. But with practice, we can cultivate that resilience, that objectivity.
You mentioned practice, which leads perfectly into the next tip, and this one really resonates with me. Celebrating the effort, not just the outcome.
Oh, that's huge, especially when we're talking about growth. When we fixate solely on the end result, we miss out on the richness of the actual learning
I
process.
see what you mean.
Every step, every stumble, every experiment, it all contributes to our growth.
It's all part of the journey.
Exactly. It's like training for a marathon. The dedication, the early mornings, the miles logged, those are all as important as actually crossing the finish line.
That's a great analogy. It's not just about that medal, it's about becoming a stronger runner, a more resilient person along the way. But what about those times when, despite our best effort, we stumble? We might even, dare I say it, fail.
Yes, failure. A word our source actually encourages us to replace with learning.
I love that.
Right. It's a subtle shift, but it's so powerful. When we start viewing setbacks as learning experiences, we remove the fear, and it opens us up to taking risks, to experimenting, and ultimately to achieving even greater growth.
It's like that saying, you either succeed or you learn. There's no losing.
I love that. And speaking of support systems, that actually brings us to our final tip,
Hmm.
the importance of our circle, the people we surround ourselves with.
That's so true.
Our social circles, they have a tremendous influence on our mindset, on our behaviors.
Mhm.
Surrounding ourselves with growth-minded individuals, people who inspire us, who challenge us, who lift us up, it can be incredibly motivating.
Absolutely. And it's not just about finding those people, but also being that supportive presence in other people's lives. Even just this conversation, diving into these ideas together, it feels like a step toward cultivating a more growth-oriented mindset, wouldn't you say?
100%.
Yeah.
So to wrap things up, here's a little thought-provoking question for you to ponder. What's one small challenge, something outside your comfort zone, that you can embrace this week? Maybe it's learning a new skill, or tackling a project you've been putting off, or even just striking up a conversation with somebody who inspires you.
It doesn't have to be huge.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, growth, it starts with that single step.
Love it. Thanks so much for this.
Thank you.